Hey y'all, welcome back to Key is King. Today we are going to be reviewing the latest episode out of Potomac. We are at season 9, episode 7. So we are quickly approaching pretty much what should be the halfway mark. And we open with a couple quick scenes. The only noteworthy thing before we get into the real meat and potatoes of the episode is that they are flashing at the beginning of the episode that we have 7 days until Karen's trial for her DUI. So that's just clearly one of the major themes and storylines we have this season, and they're starting us off with her countdown, if you will. Now, the first real scene that we have of the episode is Stacy and TJ. And for those of you that watch, you, I'm sure, are aware that this relationship is one big cringe ball. And I'm sure most of us are still squinting or side-eye at it, if it's real or not. But we are at Stacy's crash pad, her apartment that she has for when she's not parenting and being a mom. Her and her husband, for those of you that know and are keeping up, live in the same household but are going through a divorce. And so when one of them is there, the other one leaves and stays at their apartment. So she's at her apartment with TJ, and they're just talking about a bunch of stuff. They have a little activity that they're going to do together, which is painting each other's portraits. If any of you have social media, you know that this is a trend that's been going around. And it's usually funny. In this situation, I was laughing for the wrong reasons. They're doing these portraits of each other, and they're trying to figure out what the prize is going to be for the person who does the most accurate portrait. Stacy's trying to fuck. She wants to have sex. She wants sex to be a prize. But every time this woman even looks at this man in a certain type of way, he's like, I'm not fucking you. He is very adamant about that. So Stacey's trying to figure out, okay, what should the prizes be for who does best? His grand idea is to go to the track and work out. Alright. Her idea is a spa day, but she's gearing it towards him. So I don't know if they ever talked about her prize. Because to me, she was the winner of this little competition. But between going to the track to work out and a spa day for him, those are the prizes they come up with. So they're talking, they're chatting, and Stacy has to let him know that she's flirting with him. She said it 18 times, it was yelling, joking. It was I'm flirting with you, I am flirting with you. I think he knows that, and I think he's just not interested. For what reason, to be determined. Some of us have opinions. I'm still somewhere in between he's just simply acting and he's just simply gay. But she's like, I'm flirting with you, don't you? She has to announce it, and he's just like, I wish you would stop. She's making mention of his muscles, and they're just like, okay, we don't have to talk about sex. Let's not talk about it. But as I said before, she clearly wants to fuck. So they go on, they finish their activity. Like I said, in my opinion, Stacy wins, but it's just my opinion. They move over to the couch and they're just continuing to talk and chat about a couple things. The first being Stacy's divorce. He's like, okay, what's going on with that? What are the updates? And she still doesn't have much to say. They're working towards it. They're trying to figure out all the details, how to tell their daughter, all that jazz. But he's very eager for her to be divorced. I'm not sure why. I don't know if that was in his script or if he's just tired of the beard applications. But allegedly, he's gay. In my opinion. I don't know. But then they move on to talk about the ladies, and that TJ will be meeting the ladies at an event they're going to, which we know is Jazzy's event for her man. But they're talking about that. She's kind of prepping him for what to expect, I feel. She was like, well, the ladies were laughing at us the last time I was talking about you on our trip, and they don't seem to really get it. And he says they're not laughing at us or me, they're laughing at God. And that's an interesting take for an allegedly gay actor to be sharing about his relationship. But that was that. Every time they talk to each other, they make me uncomfortable. And I think they're doing it on purpose, honestly, because there's no way two people that are supposed to be loving each other and wanting to get married are that uncomfortable around each other. I would like to believe that's not true. We move on to a scene at Ashley's new home, and she's having Giselle and Karen over for a random assortment of food, as Giselle so kindly pointed out. So one by one they arrive. Giselle's talking about how they want to talk to Karen with her trial coming closer. Each time Karen is on the screen, we get a different update about her court date. I believe we are 5 days away maybe at this point of this lunch. But they come over, and I'm just going to say now, Karen looks like she has been getting some tweaks done actively during filming. Something was not right with her face. I mean, Karen is a beautiful woman, as we all know. She has made it over the triple 20 mark. And for somebody who is in that age range, she really does serve it up on a consistent basis. But something was happening with Karen's face. And I don't think it was just her facial expression. She looked a little tweaked to me. But she's coming in nervous, and she's kind of opening up probably the most she has so far, probably because it's Ashley and Giselle, and she has history with them. But she's opening up about how she's like scared. She's still playing that I can't talk much about it game, but what she's willing to talk about openly is Mia's opioid addiction, which they revisit, of course, because that's one of the last things Karen left off, and it's a big thing to talk about. But Karen is going on about Mia's opioid addiction. I don't believe Giselle was there for that part, so she's kind of playing curious and catch me up a little bit. So Ashley is playing middleman. She's doing her job as a housewife for sure, but Karen's like, yeah, there's YouTube evidence, and with an assist from Ashley, I believe. And so they show a clip of Mia on the news talking. She was plugging the joint chiropractic, but she talked about how she was addicted to opioids at one point. And that she used chiropractic and holistic healing as an alternative to opioids and did not go to rehab. That's the distinction that is explained via Mia. In her confessional, obviously they have her speaking on it. And so, to make a long story short, for those of you that did not follow what I just said, Mia said needed to go to rehab for her alcohol because she's had multiple DUIs. Karen's return was Mia would know all about rehab because she had an opioid addiction. Mia is now claiming that, yes, I was addicted to opioids after I had one of my children and had a C-section. They put me on meds, and then I got addicted. She's like, the difference is I never went to rehab and never thought I had to go to rehab. Instead, I used chiropractic adjustments as my holistic approach to getting off of the opioids. Because she said she overdosed, she went to the hospital. So if you want to claim that her overdose was related to an addiction, sure. I don't think she really made that distinction that it was not, but Karen is on her revenge plot, as we know. So she's using this YouTube video as evidence to Mia having an opioid addiction in the past. And upon hearing this, Giselle is like taking it in, but in her confessional, she's like, okay, Karen, you're still just being, I almost said delusional, but she's not being delusional, even though Karen does have a case of the delusions, a case of the delulus. She's deflecting by this whole Mia thing. Because, like, yes, Mia might have been addicted to opioids, but you are still going to court in about 5 days for your DUI that you had about God knows how recent. So Giselle's like, okay, Karen, talk about me all you want to, but it's a deflection. And speaking of deflection, Karen decides she's going to bring up Jamal Bryant. Pastor Holy Whore himself. So at this point in time in their timeline, Jamal is getting engaged or has gotten engaged. Now, if we keep up with the times now, we know he recently just got married, dressed in wicked colors with his new bride, who's a doctor of some sort. Tacky. Degrees don't get you style, apparently. So Karen brings this up, once again, another deflection, which Giselle points out, but she's like, okay, you want to talk about Jamal? We'll talk about Jamal. And Giselle's kind of shady about Jamal. She claims that she's happy for him. She knew about the whole thing. But they asked her how her daughters took it, and she was like, they were kind of confused because we went from this is dad's friend to this is dad's fiance with no in between. Which checks out because I just expect such movement from an allegedly gay pastor. It makes sense to me. It's a holy beard. Allegedly. Did I say allegedly? Allegedly. Don't come for me, Jamal. Because we know you like to get on YouTube and defend yourself. Yeah. So Giselle was kind of shady about that, but she claims she's happy for Jamal. And then Karen was kind of shading her once again about just her men in general and how she goes through them like panties. Which led me to think about what happened to the little young thing that she was fucking on last season. Did they make some type of announcement? I know they were casual and just like fucking for the most part, according to them, which they probably weren't doing much of that either. But Karen did her best to try to deflect and dodge away from her DUI stuff. And Giselle was like, I'll give you a little bit, but not really playing that game with you, Karen. I won't say Karen's in her villain arc, but she's really in her annoying arc with all this stuff. And to me, it keeps getting more annoying with Karen, and I am a stan. I love that woman, but a spade is a spade. You gotta call it how you see it. We then move on to a scene of Wendy and her family, and they are celebrating 2 graduations. One of her sons is graduating elementary school and going into middle school, and then her daughter, who is her youngest child, graduated pre-K and is going to kindergarten. So they're going out to dinner to celebrate. They have mom, and I don't know if that's supposed to be mom's husband, Wendy's brother, some random man who might, not everyone's gay, but mostly everyone's gay. Please, women, watch your boyfriends, watch your men. And they're all going out to celebrate, and so it was very sweet in that way. Wendy is one of the few ladies that has an actual family unit on this show, and I'm glad she displays it as much as she can. But they're going through a bunch of different stuff, and Wendy's mom, who is intensely African, is going off about how she did not get her allowance, because I guess it's very culture and custom for once you're in a position and you're accredited and accomplished, you take care of your parents again in the African culture. So Wendy's mom says she gets an allowance and that it's late, and that apparently she never misses her allowance date. And Wendy's like, yeah, it's late because I'm throwing like a $50,000 party for myself because she's continuing her birthday festivities. She turned 40. It's a new decade, a new energy, and Wendy takes her birthday very seriously, as she should. And so Wendy's mom was like, where's my money? Where's my allowance? And Wendy's like, okay, you only care about your allowance and it'll come. It was like 4 days late this time. Please forgive me. So her mom's going on and on about that. And it was funny. I love her mom's accent too. Anybody with an accent, you could be probably the biggest piece of shit. And I'll be like, I think it's okay. So her mom's going on about that. And then they transition to Eddie's family, because some of Eddie's family will be coming to this party that they're throwing. And the mom is being very shady. Like, we know that she used to be former best friends with Eddie's mom. They had a falling out due to the courtship and togetherness of their children. But she's being outwardly shady and talking shit about their family and how they missed everything else and they need to be coming for this and I don't see what the big deal is and it's the least they could do. And that's all cool, but she's doing it in front of their children. Which I'm no saint, but like I really try, I mean I also don't have children, but like around other people's children, I try not to be like as messy as I can be. So it was just interesting, and I know she's the grandma and she doesn't give a single fuck. But she was really kind of trashing them in front of the kids, and I found that to be interesting in the sense of, I feel like Wendy and Eddie are a little better than that, although they talk about his family openly. It doesn't necessarily seem to be negative, but I don't know what goes on in their house or behind their closed doors, so they could be trashing these people too and just being nice on camera. But I was like, okay, antenna's up, talking shit about these children's family members. But they, once again, they don't really know them. They haven't really met them. Even Eddie's parents haven't really met them. And her son, that's graduating elementary school, is 11 years old. So maybe she's justified. But they go on to talk about just how accomplished and proud they are of the children. They have a little moment to speak about how they feel about it, which as kids, I think the son was like, I feel proud or accomplished, but like it doesn't feel different. Similar to birthdays, honestly. But Wendy's like, okay, now you all have to get master's degrees if you want to stay in the trust or the fund. Not the trust or the fund. The trust fund or the will. She was just like, it's literally an, what's the word? I can't find my words today. It's like a condition in order for them to get money, is that they have to get a master's degree. Which kudos to them for making that. And I just thought that was cool. I love to see the representation of just a black family with real shit going on and real future plans for their children. So Wendy was like, unless you get a master's, you ain't getting none of our money. And the grandma was like, yeah, get your master's too so you can give grandma her allowance, I guess just in case your parents forget. which was funny. And she is well known after last season for her holy fire prayers. And so she's giving us a holy fire prayer about her allowance and them getting master's degrees. It was funny, it was wholesome, and I really appreciate the influence and the presence of Wendy and her family unit. Family unit. Some of these ladies can take notes from her. So after Wendy and her wholesome scene, we jump back over to Ashley and her unwholesome scene, which I guess the intention was supposed to be wholesome, but it's Ashley with her boys and her mom, Sheila, who has been featured on the show many times. For those of you familiar with the franchise, you know that Sheila struggles financially, that Michael, Ashley's ex-husband, used to really take care of her, and used to put conditions on taking care of her because he did so. But Ashley's going through how she's a single mom now and how she has understanding and respect for her mom. But they're getting into a little bit of what's up with her mom currently or recently at the time of filming, which is she has heart disease. And Ashley is really trying to make her mom eat better and be more focused on her health. She's trying to mix up some concoction to give her, and her mom's like, I don't really know if I want that. I think I want wine. So Ashley's really emphasizing that her mom is struggling with her health and her heart disease, and she really wants her to be healthy and kind of take care of her now that she is getting older and Ashley is an adult with her own children. And that sounds nice, but Ashley is also a performative pageant queen, so there's some side-eye happening. But they go on to talk about not only is Ashley's mom suffering from heart disease that she has to keep an eye on, she's working 12-hour shifts to keep herself afloat, and her partner, who, once again, Michael and Ashley were ready to cut the mom completely off for even dealing with this man because he seems to be a bum. I don't know if... At the time, he definitely wasn't working. Now he allegedly has some type of job, but still isn't enough, according to Ashley's mom. But she's working 12-hour shifts to survive, which leads me to the question of what is Ashley doing besides saying she wants to help her mom? Are you waiting for your divorce to help your mom? Are you just not feeling like it's a pressing issue? Because Ashley's trying to lecture her mom about well, I'm on this journey to be happy and I want you to be happy, and she's trying to bring up her partner again, and her mom just seems fucking over Ashley. Which, if that was my child, I'd be over her too, because not only did you marry some rude old man, you didn't get any fucking coins for real in your divorce, and you're telling me about my life constantly, and I don't need that for my child probably. I don't know, I'm not a mom, especially not a mom to a daughter, but just looking at her, I feel like she was not even trying to really hear what Ashley had to say. She wasn't really taking much in. She's just I know, you've made your feelings clear. There was a couple tear pats. I don't know if there's actual tears with those pats, but something about the scene made me feel like Ashley's mom is fucking over her, and it also made me wonder, what is Ashley actually doing besides saying she wants to help her mom? Because not for nothing, you're on a TV show that I'm sure pays you well after 9 seasons, and you live in this big-ass house with you and your boys, and you pay the rent somehow, even if Michael's helping you. So, girl, cut it. Really cut it. Nobody wants to hear that shit, including your mom. We then move on to Jazzy and her event for her man. He's won the Super Bowl now, twice in a row. She said he was a 3-time Super Bowl winner, but I'm not sure where that third one came from. We definitely know about the 2 with the Chiefs. So, anyway, she's having her event at the Willard, which is a very established place in the area, if you're familiar. They've been there before for filming. They probably will be there again. But they're at the Willard having this party, and we open, obviously, with Jazzy and her party planners, and yada yada. But then all the ladies start to arrive, and upon Ink and Mia arriving, which Karen did call him an Applebox DJ or Applebox boyfriend because he is short as hell, and is. But they arrive to a wall of questions and hellos. Everyone is excited to meet Ink officially. I think the words "I've heard so much about you, I feel like I know you already" were uttered more than once, because Mia, as we know, divorced her man or is divorcing her man. Everything's Ink. So Giselle meets Ink and immediately has questions. Because of course she does. She is not off her job ever. And I do love and appreciate that about Giselle. She's going to get to it if nobody else gets to it. So she's asking questions about their relationship, about Gordon, and Ink has some spicy responses in regards to Gordon. For such a little man, he talks some big shit. But then again, I guess Napoleon did too, and that's why we know the Napoleon complex these days. But Ink is spicy with his answers to Giselle, and Giselle is definitely going to ask questions about it all. And I love her for that, like I said. So everyone's trickling in slowly but surely. Kay gets there with her man, and Mia's trying to play all nice and like hug and like ha hee hee ha. And I'm almost positive Kay really did ignore her at first when she came in, because Mia was trying. It looked like she tried to hug her a couple times, and Kay was just like, somebody hear something? But she comes in with her man, and Kay's like, so Mia, do you want to clear up the drug dealer comment you made? Because as they were fighting in their little lakeside vacation, Mia called her boyfriend a drug dealer. And so Mia was like, I don't know if it was, well, she didn't say that at the time. She's like, I don't know if it was this one or that one. But she was like, I wasn't talking about him now that he's there. And she's like, oh, who are you talking about? And she's like, I was talking about like an ex-boyfriend. So Mia's trying to like save face and trying to like pivot away from the real issue. And Kay's like, not really, bitch. And everybody else is kind of like, not really. But Mia does apologize, which Kay does receive. And Mia's such a messy lady. She was just like, no, not your man. He definitely looks like a social worker, which, what does a social worker look like? Pretty sure this man was like in a Gucci shirt. I mean, he's short, but like, are social workers short? But Mia's like, no, I can definitely tell that he's a social worker. He looks like a social worker. As if that was like such a huge insult, but that's Mia being Mia. But nonetheless, she apologized to Kay, and Kay seemed to accept the apology fully. So, good for them. Kudos to them. So after that little awkward exchange, we have Stacy and TJ arriving, and everybody's like eyes glued to the door, like, oh my god, is that TJ? Somebody, probably Wendy, is screaming like, is that TJ? So they come in looking about as awkward as all fuck. Just awkward as hell. And so in her confessional, Wendy was like, he looks exactly how I thought he would. He looks like he does not have sex. And that shit was so funny to me. That tickled me. Because looking celibate and being celibate are two very different things. So, my God. My God. I hope I never just look celibate, whether I am or not. So, Wendy's like, okay, that makes sense. And Ashley's immediate feedback via her confessional is, Stacy better run. She's like, don't do it, Stacy. Don't do it. But they're there in their awkward glory. Happy to be meeting everyone and shaking hands and being revealed as, hi, I'm TJ. Kudos to them. Then we have Jazzy's man who arrives, and I literally put, Jazzy's man arrived, and yeah. Underwhelming. Also, he was kind of country. I wasn't expecting that. And his friend, I don't know if his name is Prince. I don't know if he's actually a prince, but he dressed as a character from like Coming to America, which made me think like, are you actually a prince? Are you just very tuned into your culture, which looked to be African of sorts? But he was more interesting looking and talking than Jazzy's man, so I was like, okay, girl, yeah, sure, whatever, bye. And Jazzy was trying to auction him off to the single people, which they cut to Ashley and Giselle, so somebody fucked, probably. But yeah, they gave the little speech about her man, and like I said, underwhelming. He wasn't even that cute. I was like, okay, this is great. This is great. But that turns into Mia and Karen having a little butting of the heads, and that was much better than Jazzy's man's appearance. So, of course, in the middle of all of this drama is Giselle, because Giselle went back and told Mia, I think, what Karen said. And so so Mia was like, oh, Karen, I heard you had something to say. So Giselle ends up pulling them to the side, which eventually, you know, housewives, all of them join. But they sit down, and Mia's like, I never went to rehab. Like, you did, or need to, like. So Mia's calling Karen out about lying, and Karen essentially cops to it, which this is kind of Karen's version of the truth often. She'll say something, she'll get called out for it either not making sense or being a lie, and she's like, well, I said it because you said something about me, essentially is like the vibe. So she was just like, okay, you may not have gone to rehab, but you definitely had an opioid problem, which Mia does not deny. So it was one of those things where Mia's like, no. And to give somebody like Mia a leg to stand on, you know you are kind of slipping. So Karen, you're slipping in this moment. I'm gonna need you to shift that wig back front and get it together. When you let Mia get one up on you, you gotta reevaluate. But as a result of being called out and kind of caught in her not-so-truth, Karen does apologize to Mia, but she makes it very clear that if Mia goes low, that Karen's gonna go low with her, and she'll take it lower than whoever took it low with her, whether it be Mia or somebody else. So Karen said, yeah, I'll apologize, but don't fuck with me because I'll go low. Which leads to a back and forth about balls. Because I'm pretty sure it was Karen that started it off, but she was like, you are as low as some low-hanging balls. Or maybe it was Mia because she's a hoe. Not so respectfully, I don't give a fuck. So they start going back and forth about their low as low. So Mia and Karen are going back and forth at this point about balls, in which one is lower or has been on more balls or knows more about low-hanging balls, and they kind of agree to disagree. They move on. Everybody's giving them props for the progress they made. And it just seems like one of those things where it's like, okay, we're going to call it for now. But there was, as we can probably guess, crystal ball, that's not the end of it. I can almost guarantee it. But that's how we ended that scene, and I was happy to move on, because once we got to the ball swinging category, I was like, okay, you guys are doing a lot. You're doing the most. It's getting real petty. After that lovely ball swinging scene, we move on to Karen and her cousin going to lunch. At this point, there may be like 3 days until her trial, but she's going to talk to her cousin just about where she is and how everything's going. And it was very eye-opening, and I have some questions as a result of this scene that I'm about to explain. So Karen's just kind of talking about where she is, how she got here. It's definitely, once again, one of the more open one of the more open scenes that Karen has, and the more open she's been since this whole season has started. But she's talking to her cousin, and she's really citing the tax issues that Ray had a few years ago as the first domino in this kind of sequence of events. She said that that's where her bitterness really started, because Karen had to give up some money and kind of help Ray out. They flash back to her moving, and that gives context to her sketchy ass moves. But it was really surprising for Karen. I mean, I think she said it before, but I think the emphasis of it really hit, at least for me this time. She was like, this is where the tax stuff is kind of the first, like I said, the first domino. That's where her bitterness is kind of rooted in. And then from there, it was a series of events, that being her parents dying close to each other, or close in sequence, like after that. And Karen said they had moved somewhere in Virginia, I believe, and that was for her parents to come and like move in with them and live with them and kind of expire under their watch. And so Karen said they died before that even got to happen. And she just kind of said the grief process, the bitterness of it all kind of came to a head at that night that she had her accident and her DUI, and that she was still really affected by all of that. Which does make sense. People have tried to discredit Karen for that reason, because Karen is a repeat excuser, and has used her parents a few times. And I even hate to say use, because I'm sure she would really hate that, but that's the impression that most are left with, is that she's using these circumstances to validate her either poor behavior, or why she's like, or what's preventing her from something. So Karen really says that this is what it was. It was the peak of all those things. It really fucking hit her that day, or it was weighing heavy enough on her that she got herself into this situation. So that was very telling. And like I said, I don't know, something about it landed differently this time around for me personally. So as Karen's talking, her cousin begins to cry. And Karen's like, no, don't cry, please don't cry. And goes over to console him and sits back down, and then reveals that, or she starts apologizing profusely, because she was like, you were on the phone with me when this happened, and you heard the crash. Which, this is where I have questions. Enter questions into the chat, because surprise you're opening up, that's not a question, just a statement, but does that mean you were on the phone while under the influence? Is that the admission there, or the implication there? And if so, were you like on a Bluetooth? Were you holding your phone? I just found it wild for, after saying all of this shit about she can't talk about it, she won't talk about it, it's an ongoing case, that she's going to reveal that she was on the phone. And whether that was like some type of Freudian slip, intended element to the story, it shocked the hell out of me. I was like, oh, now we have a phone call happening at the time of the crash. I wonder if court will pick up on that as well. I was like, okay, Karen, alright. But just as I think I'm getting a piece of information, or that we're getting some admittance out of Karen, she goes back to that I can't talk about it thing in her confessional, because they try to ask her some questions. So girl, go on. Go to court, hurry up, let me know what they say. I'm tired of that I can't talk about it. Open your mouth. The same way you open that bottle, girl. I hate to do it to you, but let's go. Let's go. That's how we end that scene, with a couple questions and even more side-eye. We then move on to our final scene of the episode, and boy, do we have an episode ender for that ass. Gordon and Mia know how to end a season, an episode, leave us with just the tea. Now, mind you, Mia's ass is messy. And like I've been saying, I don't know who she's trying to get fucked up, mostly herself, but she is cruising for somebody to have a bruising. My God, she's playing a dangerous game, and I've seen some people on the internet say it as well, so I know I'm not alone. But she is in her home with Ink and her children. He got them popsicles, which apparently, I mean, they're kids, so that's the best thing on earth. They're like very hype over these popsicles. I just want to say, as an adult, I'm glad that something like popsicles don't just completely sell me on a person. There was a point in time where something popsicle equivalent probably could have gotten my attention, honestly, but like, my God. He's like, I got your pop, like, the whole thing is just fucking weird, and it just keeps getting weirder, and I'll explain exactly why I feel it's weird. But they're in the house playing family, playing house, for lack of a better term. Mia's son is like hugging her, and he's like, are you surprised that I was like, I don't know if he was, I guess he like was hiding and like ambushed her with a hug. But to me, he was asking, are you surprised that I'm hugging you? Which was funny to me. But I don't quite think that was the context. But either way, they're all happy, hunky-dory, whatever. As we now know, Gordon lives in Mia's building. And I guess they're not in their squatter rentals or Airbnbs right now. They're actually home. So Gordon comes over, and he is not necessarily immediately engaging with Ink and Mia. He's like looking for something in his kids' room. But all is found, and they clear the kids out of the kitchen, which is where the scene is happening. And Gordon just turns it up. He's like, okay, now's the time. I don't know. Now, mind you, we know that this man has bipolar disorder, so I don't know if he was on an upswing or a downswing, but Gordon came in ready to go and swing no matter what direction it was going in. I'll say it that way. So Gordon immediately reveals that, like, I don't know, I guess he was kind of explaining parts about why the kids had to leave the space, but he was like, I'm not filming as a big happy family with you fucking people. Absolutely not. He's like, I don't believe that, I don't support that, and I'm not doing it. And good for him, because I wouldn't do that shit either. You can film me stabbing one of you, but even then, I don't think you want that on TV either. And I would never stab anybody. That seems so gross and personal. Oh, ooh, ooh. But he's like, no, I'm not filming with you guys. Like, fuck y'all. And baby, we keep taking left turns into fucking the mess zone. So Gordon goes on to say, not only is he not filming with them as a big happy family, he doesn't even support promoting their relationship, which, baby, if I'm getting divorced from you and you are with your longtime lover or never was in love with me, always was in love with him, lover, you best believe I'm not promoting shit either. Not a thing. So Gordon's like, fuck y'all, fuck your relationship, and I'm not happy with it. I'm not cool with it. He's like, every time I look at Ink, I see the adulterer that slept with my wife and ruined my marriage. And then on top of that, you're going to question the paternity of my child? You think you're the dad of my kid? Absolutely not. Like I said, I'm not even a violent person. Don't own, well, I won't say I don't own a weapon. I don't own a traditional weapon maybe, but I'd be looking to kill. And I'm not even that person. So like, God bless Gordon and God bless the strength holding his bipolar disorder together, because Mia would have been chopped and screwed in any other circumstance. I swear to God. I swear. I swear. But Gordon's like, look, I look at your little short ass and all I can think about is that you broke up my family. So what are you talking about? And so both Mia and Ink are denying the split up the family allegation, although we are all watching the same show, and y'all ain't trying to put it together, let me tell you that. So Ink and his little, what is Karen soapbox, apple box self, is like getting kind of hype. It's getting slick. He also talks like he's on an episode of Baddies. It's talking about that's Cap, that's Cap. Oh my god. I know everybody's quoted Nene in this a million times, but she is declassing the show. Truly, truly. And so as Gordon is going off, and as they are denying the allegation that they're trying to break up his family, baby, Gordon reveals that not only have they been fucking for very long into their marriage, Gordon reveals that Mia had an abortion soon after they got married with Ink's baby, that she aborted Ink's baby. And Mia is gooped and gagged just as we are. And you know who's more gooped and gagged in this moment than Mia and the collective watching this show? Is Ink, and you want to know why. Can anybody guess why? He didn't know he had a baby that was aborted. Mia never told him that, according to him. Because Gordon's response immediately to "I didn't know that" was bullshit. She said, he said literally, "Fuck you guys. Who do you think you're lying to? Mia shared everything, including her twat, with you. You think she didn't tell you that she had your baby aborted? Now, there's a chance she could have, and Mia be lying too. So, I don't know, but that tea, that was a hot cup of tea that just got splashed in everyone's face at the same time. Mia was shook. Ink was trying to act like he wasn't shook, but them little kneecaps were shaking, I'm sure. And Gordon did not give a fuck. Like I said, these people know how to end an episode, let me tell you. So after Gordon drops his bomb, he pretty much storms out of the apartment and is like, fuck this, I don't have to deal with this, I don't have to deal with you guys. I'm not with it, I'm not going to pretend to be with it, whatever. So Gordon leaves, which leaves Mia and Ink to process and spin about everything he just said. And I'm going to say right now, I mean, I'm sure a lot of people agree with this sentiment and this feeling. I'm not sure if Mia ever loved Gordon. And that's unfortunate, that you can spend so much of your time and energy on somebody who does not really fucking care about you. Crazy. So Mia's kind of reflecting in her confessional. And like I said, I'm just convinced she never really loved this man. She was his side piece originally because she saw him as a wealthy older man that was giving her a life and giving her attention. And I think she took that and ran with it and thought she was just going to finesse her way through life. I think she underestimated the fact that this man had what turned out to be a mental diagnosis and all this stuff. And she kind of got what she deserved in that regard, if that is the case. She might have loved him for a hot minute, but I think Mia was always plotting, and it was never really fully about love. And the way she's talking in her confessional about just kind of dealing with Gordon and the life he put her through and subjected her to, I feel like she thought she was making like a power move and has resentment for that. Because she had to deal with a lot. And not all that included the money that she wanted, obviously. So they're talking about that. Mia's like, I just have to process everything that just happened because it was a lot. And it was. And before we close out of this episode, she reveals that her children, I don't know if she specified like the younger children specifically, think that Ink is her best friend. Mia better hope that her kids want to fucking talk to her when they get old enough to understand everything that's been on TV. She better hope. If that was my mother, no. Nope. 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 She's playing a dangerous game, and like a lot of people, she does not understand the ripple effects of her actions in this moment, and God help her when she starts to feel the ripple effects. That's all I gotta say. But with that, they brought the episode to a close. Another quality episode. It definitely had its peaks and valleys, but nonetheless, I was seated, I was tuned in. I actually watched this episode later than I usually do, but nonetheless, got this shit done, didn't I? But that was my review for the episode 7, season 9 of The Real Housewives of Potomac. As always, please comment, like, and subscribe beneath my video. Check out my other stuff that will be coming up somewhere around this area. And I hope you guys come back for more. I'll see you soon. Thanks for watching. Bye.